Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today is an auspicious occasion of Dussehra, and I thought we could just go through the pastime of the killing of Ravan by Lord Ramachandra. Of course, there is no killing because the soul is eternal. Just the body is destroyed, but the soul continues to live on. And the body is already dead anyway because it's made up of the 5 material elements. The pastime that took place is very interesting because why does God need to fight? Why does he have to come to earth to fight? Well, he wants to fight sometimes. He likes to fight. But in the spiritual world, he can't fight because they're all his devotees. So he makes arrangements for him to fight with his devotees on this in this material world. And he made that arrangement for Ravan to come to this world. Previous lives, or in his original, in the original situation, in the spiritual world, Ravan and Kumbhakarna were Jay and Vijay. And they were cursed by the 4 Kumaras to descend to earth and have 3 lives as demons. So the first lives they had was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. The second one is as Ravan and Kumbhakarna. So this is the pastime of Ravan and Lord Ramachandra that we can pretty quickly recap or remember, so that when we remember these pastimes, we become closer to the Supreme Lord. He allows us this facility where we can connect with him because we've lost our connection. And the idea is when we remember these pastimes of Lord, then we can again become close to him and connect with him again. So he does these pastimes. He doesn't have to do these pastimes because he's the Supreme Lord. He doesn't have to kill anybody. But he performs these pastimes because one, he wants to, second, he wants us to remember him and fall in love with him. So these are super excellent pastimes. What happened? The sister of Ravan, Supanka, she was very attracted to Lord Ramachandra while they were in the forest. And she pursued him. And Ramachandra would say, I'm already married. However, Lakshman is not married. He's free. So why don't you approach Lakshman? And she would approach Lakshman. And Lakshman would say, well, I'm only a servant. You don't want to be married to a servant. I'm the servant of Ram. So then Suparka, she became a little aggressive towards Mother Sita. And at that time, Lakshman cut her nose off. And she went back to Ravan, the brother, and she complained about Ram. And she also described Sita, Mother Sita, to Ravan and said, she's so beautiful, she belongs to you. So she sort of wound up Ravan, who actually was a very intelligent person because he was well versed in the scriptures. The demigods, when they would perform yagyas, they would call upon Ravan to recite the mantras. So that shows the proficiency of Ravan. But it doesn't mean anything. We may know and recite the scriptures, but if we don't understand the scriptures, don't understand how to behave, then what is the, then we may not be able to, fit within the spiritual realm. So Ravan, although he knew the scriptures, he didn't understand them. So when he was wound up by Supanka, unfortunately, he became attracted to the thought of capturing Sita for himself. So, and he then devised a plan. He called for Marichi to come and take Ram and Lakshman away from Sita. Marichi warned him, don't fool around with Ram. Ravan got angry with Marichi. I'll kill you if you don't do this. Marichi said, that's okay, don't worry. I don't want to be killed by you. I'd rather be killed by Ram. So Marichi came disguised as a deer, a beautiful golden deer. He incited Ram away from Sita. And then later on, Lakshman as well. Marichi could mimic Ram's voice, and that's what he was doing, giving the impression that Ram was in trouble, but he, of course, wasn't. But Sita thought that Ram is in trouble, and she enticed Lakshman to run after Ram. So she was left on her own. But Ram, of course, realized that Marichi was, the deer was a demon, Marichi, and he destroyed the demon. But in the meantime, Lakshman came. Before coming, he drew the Lakshman Rekha around Sita for her protection. So Ravan appeared on the scene as a sage. He came disguised, very cleverly enticed Sita out of that Lakshman Rekha by pretending to be hungry, and Sita, being very compassionate nature, came to give him food. And at that time, he grabbed her. And of course, this is a very nice joke which Jayanti has found. Ravan doesn't go to restaurants very often because he gets charged per head, and he's got 10 heads. So he gets charged 10 times as much, but he only got one stomach. He should have really asked for 10 stomachs, then he would have been better off. Anyway, so he enticed her out of the Lakshman Rekha, and he grabbed Sita. Of course, no one can possibly have access to the internal potency of the Lord. That's no different from the Lord himself. So it is understood, we understand from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that as Mother Sita crossed the Lakshman Rekha, Agnidev came and took the real Sita to his abode in this heavenly planets, and substituted her with Maya Sita. So that is who.
Vedvati. Vedvati is another
name for. Right. So Ravan only had Maya Sita with him. And Jatayu saw what was happening. He delayed the capture or the escape of Ravan with Sita by 48 minutes, hence putting it in a different muhurt, which meant that Ravan would be conquered later on by Ram. So Jatayu showed great, immense intelligence and also strength of character to fight against Ravan. He knew he was going to be defeated, but yet he didn't care. His 48 minutes of service gave him liberation from this material world, because Ramachandra came later on and performed his funeral rites. He passed away in front of Lord Ram.
Treated with his father. No?
Yeah, that's right. Mahajashrat wasn't able to do the final rites of Mahajashrat, so he did it for Jatayu. And there's so many pastimes that took place before Ramachandra finally conquered Ravan. Pastime of Sabri, which we are very well aware of. On the search of Sita, they met with Hanuman, who immediately recognized Ramachandra as the Supreme Lord, so intelligent. Nobody really understood Ram's position as a Supreme Lord, but Hanuman did. He wasn't an ordinary personality. He was an exalted personality. And Hanuman introduced Ramachandra to Sugriv, and they formed a partnership. Ramachandra helped Sugriv regain the kingdom from his brother Bali, and in turn, Sugriv helped Ramachandra to find Mother Sita by sending the monkey armies all over Bharat. And Hanuman finally went to the south of Bharat, and he found Mother Sita in Sri Lanka, in Lanka, not in any of the palaces. She wouldn't enter. And Ravan couldn't force her because he was cursed. If you force yourself upon a woman, you will die. So she was in a garden, looked after by various Rakshashis, and Hanuman very cleverly approached Sita Devi so as not to scare her. So this is a wonderful pastime which took place. Shows the immense intelligence of Hanuman, such a great devotee of the Lord. I remember Guru Maharaj always glorified Hanuman over and over and over again. Such an intelligent devotee. And Hanuman, of course, did some naughtiness of burning Lanka down. And then later on, Angad came as a messenger, ambassador of Ramachandra, and they couldn't even lift his little toe, so showing the strength of the army of Ramachandra. And Ramachandra, when he came to the coast, to the Rameshwar, to build the bridge, he prayed to Lord Shiva. And this is such an incredible relationship between Ram and Lord Shiva. Ram knew Ravan is a devotee of Lord Shiva, so he sought permission from Lord Shiva to destroy his devotee. He doesn't have to seek anyone's permission to do anything. Yet, he observes the etiquette, and he also shows the love between Ram and Lord Shiva, who's regarded to be his greatest, is one of his greatest devotees. And of course, this fantastic pastime where they write the name of Ram on the rocks and the boulders and place them on the ocean water, and they would float, showing the greatness of the holy name of the Lord, even more powerful than the Lord himself. And this is a really incredible pastime where Ramachandra acknowledges the service of everyone, including the squirrel, who only picks up small but very important rocks which help fill the bridge. And NASA as well also apparently have identified some sort of structure between Bharat and Sri Lanka. I'm not sure how accurate or true this is, but these stones are still there. This is the army of Ramachandra crossing the bridge. Such a phenomenal painting. And then they fought the demon army for 9 days, hence Navratras, which had just passed. And today is Dussehra, where Ramachandra fought. Glorious fight with the demon Ravan. Of course, he's not a demon in the true sense of the word, because he's a devotee incarnated as a demon. And he gave the Lord great pleasure by fighting with him. And
was Jai Vijay.
It was Jay and Vijay, yes, you're
that's
right.
right. That's right. And it was quite, and even Ramachandra took the assistance of his brother, Vibhishan, to destroy.
Kumkar.
Well, Vibhishan told him, where is
Ravan.
Yeah.
He told that to shoot the arrow on the navel of Ravan.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Because Ravan was tough to defeat. Even this was such a fight that even the Lord was challenged. Of course, he was challenged by his pure devotee. And when the devotee challenges the Lord, even the Lord may struggle somewhat to defeat the demon. Defeat the devotee, because there is such great love and bond between the Lord and the devotee. So when there is a fight between the Lord and the devotee, the Lord generally will surrender. So, because he's humble, the Lord is humble. This is the point about the Lord. He's such a amazing personality, sweetness personified. He doesn't like to see his devotee defeated, even by himself. So, but then they had to close this pastime, and Vibhishan guided the Lord. Please, now you've played enough. Just shoot him in the navel and use your magical arrow, and that will finish this demon off. And it did. And this is the Dussehra. So often now, I mean, it may not be happening so much in this year, but previous years, they used to do an effigy of Ravan and use that on the Dussehra for the burning of Ravan by the arrows of Ramachandra. Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai. Any questions, any comments, anything? I mean, we've just skirted over the pastime. Anything you'd like to add to the pastimes? Anybody?
No, Prabhu, thank you. Hi.
Everybody happy? Happy as can be. All right, thank you so much. And then, of course, the Mother Sita was tested, which was not really a test because she's always pure, but there had to be an excuse. This is one of the fascinating parts of Ramayana where Ramachandra instructs Lakshman, build a fire. Why? Lakshmana says, what's the point? We want to test the purity of Sita. What do you mean, test the purity of Sita? Lakshmana was really trying to understand. Why would you want to test the purity of Sita? But of course, there was another reason for that. Agni Dev had to bring Sita back, the real Sita. And he did. And he took away the Maya Sita when she entered the fire and brought the real Sita back to be accompanied, to become accompany Lord Ramachandra. He won't go with Maya Sita. He will go with the real Sita. So this was the inner meaning behind the fire that was done to test Mother Sita. Then they were, of course, reunited and they returned back on the occasion of Diwali to Ayodhya, which was a grand occasion. And then they were crowned king and queen. They ruled for 10,000 years. Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai. Okay, thank you so much, dear devotees.